Thank you, Wayne. What did I write down today? The importance of St. Patrick. Maybe it's not so important, but I think there's an aspect of St. Patrick that I'd like to talk about today that I think actually is important. How many of you know all about St. Patrick? Couple, three. Well, the first thing you need to know is he wasn't Irish. He was born in Britain in 385. And at that time, Britain was actually part of the Roman Empire. And his grandfather was a priest in the Christian church, and his father was a deacon. And he kind of had those thoughts of continuing the family skills. But when he was 16 years old, some Irish pirates kind of people kidnapped him and took him to Ireland and turned him into a kind of a slave working on a sheep ranch. And he did that for about 6 years. And he had a dream, and this story is actually his own proclamation that he wrote toward the end of his life. He had a dream, and in this dream, God told him to go to the coast, to escape, go to the coast, and there would be a ship that would return him to England. So he did, and it worked out just that way. So he got back to England when he was 22 years old, to Britain, and he decided to become a priest. So he worked hard and studied and became a priest, and later became a bishop. And when he was 40, he decided he needed to go back to Ireland, because Ireland was predominantly pagan. And he felt that what he had learned was worth knowing, was worth having the people in Ireland know about. So he died when he was 76 years old. So for 34 years, he walked around Northern Ireland, kind of on an evangelistic talk about. And they say that he converted most of Ireland to Christianity. And he didn't do that by force, which later became the way to make Christians out of people. He just spoke his truth. He lived his truth, and he spoke his truth. Now, I don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the traditional sense. And I don't think St. Patrick is, to us, that important in a religious sense. But I think what is important is the example that he gave to all of us, to all of humanity, is that he spoke and lived his truth. And in so doing, he changed the quality of life for a lot of people. You know, and there were always the legends and the stories that he in his quest against the Druids, that he actually drove all the snakes out of Ireland. Truth is, there never were any snakes in Ireland. But it made a great story. So, I think the important thing is about living our truth. I've got some quotes on the bottom of the order of service along those lines. But there have been some amazing people down through history that have lived their truth. And I think that truth, a person's truth, needs to be based on the principle of the awareness of being part of the whole, the awareness of being connected to everything in this universe. And if the truth that we project is just all about me, then I don't think it's truth. I think it's ego. Down through the ages, there have been so many people that have lived their truth that we're aware of. Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Jesus. There have been some people that have lived their truth that I am kind of very, I don't know, in awe by. Maybe the most is Muhammad Ali. He had the ego. That was part of his, what he was. That was part of his fame. It was part of his shtick. But he cast all that aside when he stood up for his beliefs and his truth. Wasn't going to war. Wasn't going to kill people. And he gave up the fame and the fortune and the ego. Harry Belafonte. Gloria Steinem. Jane Fonda. The list goes on about people who have demonstrated living their truth, standing up for what they believe. They don't have to be that famous. Wayne Thush, Carol Kelly, Vivian Clark. Actually, every one of us in this room lives our truth some of the time. Some of the time. I think it's the assignment for every one of us to expand our awareness, expand our personal self-awareness, and be mindful of how we live every day. Are we living our truth? Are we living our beliefs? Or are we living someone else's belief? Are we living our ego? We all have egos. And we're just folks. And there's times when none of us are going to live our truth. But I think that, the goal or the aspiration should be for all of us to expand our awareness, be a little more mindful of what we're projecting. Last week in Wayne's message, I read that he talked about the 4 agreements and being aware of our speech. Are we aware of that all the time? Is what we're saying projecting what we believe? Is it projecting our truth? I used to think that living a spiritual life, well, the opposite of that was leading a materialistic life. And I got to thinking and looking at folks that are materialistic, but still live their truth, speak their truth, live their beliefs. And I think we can, in fact, do both. We can still show compassion and understanding and acceptance to our fellow man, to our environment, and have cars and planes and trucks and toys. I think that perhaps the opposite of spirituality is egotism. The opposite of truth, our truth, is our ego. Whenever we set ourselves aside or make it all about me, we have stepped out of the truth of our being, the truth of our humanity. Living our truth, living our beliefs. And I think, along with aspiring to increase our awareness, we should ask those questions Vivian has told us for years. Ask the questions, question your belief, question your thoughts, question your feelings. Do our beliefs represent our truth? As we live our truth, we will discover our purpose. And each one of us has a purpose. We are a speck in the overall creation of the universe, in the perpetual evolution of the universe. And that speck has value. It has the value of our being, our beliefs, and our truth. Just as St. Patrick, Gandhi, King, the list goes on and on forever. These people demonstrate their truth, they live their truth, they share their beliefs. And our world has been a better place because of it. That's my St. Patrick's Day wish to each of you, that you expand your awareness and understanding, that in your truth you find your purpose, you find your joy, and you find your fulfillment of this life experience. When you stop and consider the experiences that we're privileged to have in this life experience, there can be no other thought than truly it's a wonderful world that we live in. Let's stand up and sing. What a wonderful world.